In 2021, the world watched a woman who had survived 5 decades of chaos nearly unravel in real time. But long before the headlines, before the television cameras and public controversies, she was just a girl growing up in Brixton, South London. Born Sharon Rachel Levy in 1952, she was raised inside the volatile orbit of one of the most feared music managers in Britain, her father. Power, intimidation, loyalty, betrayal, these were not lessons she learned from books, but from the living room of her own home. How does a child shaped by fear grow into one of the most formidable women in entertainment? What does it cost to survive a man who ruled both the industry and his family with the same iron grip? And how did that upbringing forge the strength that would later define her life? In today's video, we uncover the hidden foundations behind the title. The tragedy of Sharon Osbourne is beyond heartbreaking. Stay with us, because to understand the woman, we must first understand the battlefield she was born into. By 1979, that battlefield had shifted from Brixton to the collapsing world of heavy metal. When Ozzy Osbourne was dismissed from Black Sabbath in Los Angeles that April, many in the industry quietly assumed his career was over. Substance struggles had eclipsed his talent, and record executives were unwilling to take further risks. He returned to Britain adrift, his future uncertain. It was during this fragile period, inside the offices connected to her father's management network in London, that Sharon began looking at him differently. While others saw instability, she recognized the unmistakable spark that had once filled arenas from Birmingham to California. Former associates would later recall how determined she became in late 1979, making calls behind the scenes, arranging meetings, and pushing for studio time when confidence in him was at its lowest. By early 1980, sessions for what would become Blizzard of Oz were underway in Surrey, and the tone had shifted. Sharon's belief was no longer quiet support, it was strategic action. Those close to the project remember her insistence on structure, rehearsal discipline, and careful tour planning, early signs of the manager she was becoming. The partnership was professional first, but the emotional bond deepened quickly, especially during long stretches on the road in the UK and the United States. Behind the headlines of a rock comeback, there were already warning signs: exhaustion, pressure, and the delicate balance between revival and relapse. Yet Sharon stood at the center, not as a bystander, but as the architect of a second chance that few thought possible. As Ozzy's solo career stabilized in the early 1980s, another, far more personal conflict was quietly unfolding behind closed doors. By 1981 and 1982, as tours expanded across the United States and Europe, Sharon began reviewing financial records more closely. What initially appeared to be routine discrepancies slowly revealed a troubling pattern. Royalty payments and touring revenues linked to Ozzy's rising success were not aligning with projections. Industry insiders would later describe tense meetings in London offices where questions about accounting were met with deflection. The deeper she looked, the clearer it became that significant sums had been redirected without proper authorization. For Sharon, this was not just a contractual dispute. It involved her father's management structure, the very empire she had grown up inside. The confrontation that followed in the early 1980s marked a turning point. Choosing to pursue legal action meant challenging the most dominant figure of her childhood. Court proceedings in the UK unfolded with a mixture of business precision and deeply personal strain. Colleagues from that era recall how composed she appeared publicly, even as the private cost was immense. Winning the case allowed her to secure control over Ozzy's finances and future direction. Yet those close to the family have since acknowledged that the rupture extended far beyond contracts. It reshaped loyalties, severed ties, and forced Sharon to step fully out of her father's shadow, not as an assistant or heir, but as an independent force navigating the industry on her own terms. By March 2002, Sharon Osbourne had stepped into a new chapter. The Osbournes premiered on MTV on March 5, 2002, offering viewers an unfiltered look inside the family's Beverly Hills home. What was expected to be a niche reality experiment quickly became a cultural phenomenon, drawing millions of viewers and redefining celebrity television. Sharon, once known primarily within industry circles, was suddenly a household name across America. Just months later, in July 2002, she received a diagnosis that shifted everything. Doctors confirmed she had colon cancer after a series of medical tests prompted by persistent but initially overlooked symptoms. Those close to production later revealed that filming briefly paused while treatment options were assessed. Yet Sharon made a deliberate decision to continue documenting her journey. Chemotherapy sessions, hospital visits in Los Angeles, and difficult family conversations became part of the public narrative. Viewers saw her address the diagnosis openly with her children and stand beside Ozzy, who appeared visibly shaken but supportive. Medical procedures, including surgery later that year, were handled with transparency rather than spectacle. Behind the scenes, producers have since shared that Sharon insisted on accuracy and dignity in how her illness was portrayed. The result was not sensational television, but a rare moment of vulnerability broadcast at a time when reality programming often avoided such depth. As her health stabilized and the Osbournes concluded in 2005, Sharon's presence in the entertainment industry did not diminish, it evolved. In September 2004, she joined the inaugural judging panel of The X Factor in the United Kingdom, filmed at the Fountain Studios in Wembley. Alongside Simon Cowell and Louis Walsh, she quickly became known for her passionate defense of contestants she believed in. Crew members from the early seasons have since recalled how she would stay long after tapings ended, offering private encouragement and industry advice to young performers facing national scrutiny for the first time. Her television career expanded further in October 2010 with the launch of The Talk on CBS in Los Angeles. The daytime panel format allowed Sharon to speak daily on topics ranging from family life to global headlines. Ratings steadily grew in its early years, and her candid tone became one of the program's defining elements. Colleagues later noted that off-camera, she often prepared extensively, reviewing discussion points the night before, a sign that her spontaneous style was grounded in careful awareness. By the mid-2000s, Sharon had transformed from music manager to established television personality, balancing studio schedules with continued oversight of Ozzy's touring commitments. Industry observers remarked that the second act of her career reflected not reinvention alone, but a deliberate expansion of influence into spaces few had predicted she would dominate. That stability shifted dramatically in March 2021. On March 10th, during a live broadcast of The Talk from CBS Television City in Los Angeles, Sharon addressed public criticism surrounding comments made by her longtime friend, Piers Morgan, about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's interview with Oprah Winfrey. The on-air exchange with co-host Cheryl Underwood became tense within minutes. Viewers witnessed a conversation that moved from debate into visible emotion as Sharon defended her position while expressing distress over being labeled unfairly. The segment concluded abruptly with a commercial break, but the reaction continued far beyond the studio walls. Social media response was immediate and intense. In the days that followed, CBS announced an internal review on March 12th, placing the show on hiatus. Former colleagues came forward with accounts describing earlier workplace tensions, adding further complexity to the public discussion. On March 26, 2021, CBS confirmed that Sharon would not return to the program. In subsequent statements, she acknowledged the impact of the conversation and expressed regret for the distress caused, while also emphasizing her perspective on the exchange. The departure marked the end of her 11-year tenure, closing a significant chapter in her American television career under circumstances that reshaped public perception almost overnight. While the professional chapter in Los Angeles was closing, another, far more personal battle was intensifying. In January 2020, during an appearance on Good Morning America in New York, Ozzy Osbourne publicly confirmed he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. The announcement followed a difficult year that had begun with a fall at his Los Angeles home in early 2019, aggravating previous spinal injuries and leading to multiple surgeries. Behind the scenes, those close to the family later described how the months between hospital visits and rehabilitation sessions were marked by careful adjustments. Sharon accompanied him to medical consultations in California and abroad, coordinating specialists while maintaining discretion. Travel plans were repeatedly revised as tours were postponed, including the rescheduling of the No More Tours 2 dates across North America and Europe. In late 2021, the couple made the decision to leave Los Angeles and return to the United Kingdom. By 2022, they had settled in the countryside of Buckinghamshire, seeking a quieter environment away from constant media scrutiny. Friends have noted that the move reflected not retreat, but reprioritization, a shift toward health, family stability, and a slower pace after decades defined by relentless public visibility. By 2024 and into 2025, Sharon's life in England reflected a quieter rhythm, though not a disappearance from public view. Living between Buckinghamshire and the Cotswolds countryside, she has spoken in recent interviews about reassessing priorities after decades spent at the center of global entertainment. Appearances on British television, including guest segments filmed in London studios, showed a woman still sharp in wit, but more measured in tone. In conversations published in late 2024, Sharon acknowledged openly that past cosmetic procedures had gone too far, describing them as decisions made under the pressure of constant scrutiny. The comments were delivered without defensiveness, suggesting a growing ease with transparency about aging in the public eye. Those close to her family have also observed a renewed focus on time spent with her children, Kelly, Jack, and Amy, whose adult lives now unfold largely outside the relentless spotlight that once defined the Osbourne household. There have been quiet family gatherings documented in candid photographs, moments far removed from red carpets and studio lights. While Ozzy continues ongoing treatment and periodic medical evaluations in the UK, Sharon's public remarks increasingly emphasize gratitude for ordinary routines, mornings without cameras, conversations without headlines, and the steadier cadence of life after years of constant motion. After everything we have explored, the childhood shaped by fear and power, the battles fought for love, the public health struggles, the professional triumphs, and the painful controversies, Sharon Osbourne's story is not simply about fame. It is about endurance. It is about a woman who stood in storms that would have silenced many others and kept standing. Behind every headline was a daughter trying to break free from her father's shadow, a wife choosing commitment during the darkest moments, a mother determined to give her children what she never fully had, a public figure who made mistakes in front of millions, yet never stopped showing up and facing the consequences. Whether you agree with every decision she made or not, her journey reminds us of something powerful. Strength is not perfection, it is persistence. It is the courage to rebuild when life forces you to start again. It is choosing loyalty, family, and survival over pride. If this story moved you, take a moment to share empathy rather than judgment. Leave a comment with your thoughts. What part of her journey resonated with you most? And if you value deep, respectful storytelling like this, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to continue bringing meaningful stories that remind us all of resilience, accountability, and the complicated beauty of being human.